what it is. So today we're going to remove the hubs. I'm going to show you how to remove the hubs on this. This is a 96 Bronco. This applies to pretty much all F-Series trucks. This is pretty simple, and it'll even apply to 87 and older Chevrolet stuff and some Dodges. But we're just going to concentrate on what we're doing today, which is the Ford Bronco. So a couple tools you'll need is you'll need some Allen wrenches. These, for the sake of the video, I went ahead and removed all the screws that hold the hub on, just because sometimes you run into these things where they're rusted and won't come out, and you have to drill the heads out. So remove all the little Allen bolts, and then we'll pop the actual locking mechanism for the hub out. Pretty simple. Next thing you'll need is a pair of snap ring pliers. There's a snap ring right here in the end. Go ahead and remove that guy. Pretty simple. Then the next thing you'll need to do is there's another ring that's located in here, which you'll need to dig out with a pick or a small screwdriver. I prefer a pick. Get that guy out. Then what I usually do, again, this is just how I do them. So I'll stick one of these screws that hold the cap on, and out comes your lock and hub assembly. Now we'll talk about that a little bit later. But right now we're just going to tear this thing down so we can cut our rotors. Next tool you'll need a socket like this with the 4 teats on it, or tits. That'll remove your first locking nut. And there's why you need the one with the line right up in there like so. All 4 of them in there. Take the first lock nut out, which holds the lock ring for the first nut. Now, I'll usually go back in there with your snap ring pliers. I'll show you in a minute why. You'll see there's a series of holes and a lineup tab. Lineup tab goes on the spindle. The nut that I just took off, your second nut, has a little tab that sticks out that'll go in one of these holes, and that's what locks that one in there. Use this last nut that's in there is what you use to set your preload on your bearing. Then you'll set it up, put your lock ring in, and then tighten your other nut up as like a jam nut. Such as so. Now you'll be able to remove your outer wheel bearing, one outer wheel bearing, complete with grease, and then your rotor. Now we're going to set this thing up. We're going to clean all that grease out of there. We're going to set it up on our machine, and we're going to give it a quick cut. We're going to replace the pads, and we're going to get rid of this dust shield on here. Again, this is our Bronco cheapskate here, so we're keeping everything cheap. Reason we're going to delete get rid of the back plate is it's all rotted out. And if found on a trail truck, get rid of those things. Main reason is if you're going to wheel this thing and drive it, you'll get this kind of crap stuck between the backing plate and the rotor, and man, it makes a hell of a noise. So just get rid of these things. If you're going to use it as a wheeler and a driver. Now back to that first lock nut and second lock nut that I was talking about. Let's wipe them off here, and I'll show you what we got going on. So what you do is, let's just say the rotor's already on there. You won't drop it. You put this on. If you want to come a little closer there, camera guy, girl. So what you would do is, we're just showing this as a demonstration. So you would use this nut to set your preload on your wheel bearing. Let's just say that's where you want your preload. This is your lock nut. A lot of guys have problems with these things. I don't know why. It's not that complicated. But as you can see right there's a little white mark. Somebody else had put a white mark on there. That's where the little tab's going to go through one of these holes. And then this will line up with that slot, just like so. Then you would take your second nut, which is your jam nut. You've already set your preload on your bearing, you know, and you line that bad boy up. And then you would screw this one on, and you tighten it up tight. And that locks it together so that it can't back off. It's very important that when you put this all together, that this hole lines up. Because if you break this little tab off, then there's nothing to hold it all together. And it could, and I have seen them where they'll back off. So that's pretty basic how it is. We're going to chuck this thing up in the rotor, and we'll come back in a few minutes. And we're going to clean everything up, and we'll show you what our fresh cut rotor looks like.